Hey, what's up, you guys? It is Tyler. Welcome to the Tyler Williams channel. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was American Horror Story, My Roanoke Nightmare, Chapter 10. Basically, the episode that would conclude Season 6 of American Horror Story. And it was pretty sad. Let's say satisfying. Episode was roller coaster. I'll put it that way. I would say that to start, this episode was full of commercials. I felt like there were more commercials than there was content of the show, which actually makes it kind of easier for me to tell you what happened because there's actually more to remember because there was less commercials. This once again, like I said, this was the end of season 6 of American Horror Story. I felt like the season kind of ended a little bit. Usually when American Horror Story comes around, they have 12, 13 episodes. This is the first season when they only had 10 episodes. And they kind of, I don't want to say bunched all of this content into like one 10-episode series, but I felt like they could have, I don't want to say they could have stretched it out, but just the thought of it being like 10 episodes when they use these 13 episodes is kind of weird, because you expect there to be like more episodes, or you would expect it to be like, this is the mid-season finale, and the next year it'll come back on and we can continue watching. No, it's over. That's it. We don't get to see season 7 until probably next year, and at that, probably not until October next year. But anyway, let's get into this episode because a lot of you are probably wondering. Okay, so we start off this episode with a panel with all the characters from My Roanoke Nightmare. I'm talking the cast that was portraying the characters and the characters that were, the real people, like real Shelby, real Matt, real Lee, all those people. And then you had the fake Shelby, the fake Matt, the fake Lee, all those people. At first, I was like, hey, man, I knew it. I knew this was all fake. Like, I was saying, because I keep on hearing theories, like, this is all fake. Like, this was a dramatization of a dramatization. And they're all going to reveal in the end, this was all just an act. It was all part of a whole nother show. And I'm like, it's a cool theory, but I would not be satisfied if they actually did that, because it's just like, it seems like an easy way out, if you know what I mean. Like the easiest route to take if you went with that. Like, oh, it's just a dramatization of a dramatization. So I would say I was kind of angry for a second. There was a panel, they were answering questions from the audience, getting applause, everyone had their egos running high, all this kind of stuff. And then it just kind of cut, and it said March something 2015, like PAX Fest panel, like this was before season 2 happened. Now season 2 is when they all went back to the house for, to return to Roanoke. So that basically confirmed that there was a panel before season 2, and this wasn't like, dramatization of a dramatization. It was basically just a panel before they all died. We then cut to, after that, it was a YouTube video of a girl expressing her kind of like her displeasure for there being a season 2 and how all the characters died and how she thinks Lee didn't do it. And then we get to a YouTube video. Now this is on, they don't say this is YouTube, but it's basically YouTube. Then we get to a YouTube video of a Polk family member. Yes, a member of the Polk family was basically saying he's plotting to kill Lee. And I was like, oh my God, this is how it ends. A Polk family, one of the Polks kills Lee. This is how, I hope it doesn't end that way. That wouldn't be very satisfying either. So this episode was based around 3 things. It's based around real time, a documentary, and a reality TV show. 3 things. So let's start off with the first thing it was based around, which was a documentary on Lee. Now, why I say this? Because this whole, most of the show had a documentary type feel. You had jump cuts of people who had interactions with Lee. You had, I don't know, an actor from the show who wasn't on Return to Roanoke. You had the director. You had an interviewer. You had this person and that person, and this person, that. You just had a barrage of people doing sit-down conversations with the camera, talking about Lee, talking about how she was unstable and all this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, oh, it's kind of interesting. But then I'm like, So basically, the documentary was basically them explaining how stuff we already knew from the beginning of the season. Lee was had a happy life. She was a police officer, married to her husband Mason, had a daughter named Flora. Everything started to crack. Mason and what's her name got a Mason and Lee got a divorce. Then Mason wanted to take Flora away from Lee, and what's the other part? What's the other part? Oh, and Lee started to slip into a drug addiction because she couldn't see her daughter. And it was basically explaining stuff we already knew. To the whole Roanoke nightmare thing. And one thing I found weird is that they really didn't talk heavily about the death. Here's the thing. As most people on the documentary have seen, everyone who was on the cast, who was really living, they all died. But they really only talked about the people that Lee killed. Like, to hell with Monet and the real Shelby and the real Matt, that all at house. They only care about the one Polk family. They cared about everyone that basically Lee killed. And it's like, well, the hell everyone else who died. I'm like, okay, I see how it is. Completely just forgot about everyone else who died on the show, but whatever. So the documentary also featured Lee on trial. She's basically being trial for murder, of course. During this trial, they had Flora go to the court, which was the first time we saw real life Flora. And it had Flora, the lady was asking the Flora, like, what happened when your parents started arguing? And she was like, yeah, we were out in the woods and my parents were arguing. And Daddy was talking about how he's going to take me away from Mommy. And Mommy got angry, grabbed the rock, and started hitting him, bashing his head in until he stopped moving. Basically admitting that Lee killed Mason. Not by burning him, but by bashing his head in with a rock. Now, the whole burning him situation, that was all the butcher. But he died beforehand, which was Lee killing him. So Flora just basically confirms that Lee killed Mason. And, Lee has tears in her eyes. She doesn't really know what to say. Plaintiff was talking about how there was a possibility that, she could be making this stuff up, because the deal breaker was when Flora started talking with Priscilla. And usually when Priscilla is brought up, people start to think, oh, it's just their imaginary friend. This is really a ghost that's going on, following Priscilla around. It's just an imaginary friend. So when she brought that up, it kind of swayed this up. And the jury, we didn't get to go inside the courtroom, the room, and hear jurors talk or anything. So that wasn't really, anything crucial. We didn't get to hear the jurors talk, so it doesn't really matter. But what it came down to was the jurors came out, they said their piece, and they said that we find Lee Harris not guilty. And everyone's like falling out, like, oh, why did she get out? Like, she obviously did the murder. And she basically said, it was close, but I don't see a reason to trial Lee for a bunch of ghost stories. Like, that's not enough solid evidence for me. Like, ghost stories should not be surrounding this whole thing, which is kind of weird to just say. You've seen the tapes of Lee killing these people. You see all this evidence you hear say from all these people, but you go off of, oh, it's just a bunch of ghost stories. Just disregard it. She's obviously... now, if I was on the jury and I didn't know about what happened, I would have obviously said guilty. Like, she killed all these people, and her daughter just said she killed her husband. She's guilty as hell, but whatever. It's ghost stories. Anyway. So we skip on to the documentary and we go on to what everyone's been waiting for, the interviews with the famous Lana Winters from season 2 of American Horror Story Asylum. I was so excited for this part. So basically the interview was Lana talking about, how they kind of asking Lee how she's doing, and Lee's like, yeah, I'm fine, just trying to, she believes, basically expressing that she wants her daughter. She wants her daughter to believe her. She wants her daughter back in her life because, her daughter's like kind of shunned away from her. Mason's grandparents are trying to take custody away from her. Like, they don't want Lee anywhere near. So she went on air to clear the airways. And then Lana popped the question. She popped the question of, I know you're clearing up the name, but hold on. Before she said that, before I was about to go on, there was a part in this interview where Lana was asking, well, why did you come on with me? And she's like, why you asked that? She's like, well, you had a bunch of people, a bunch of interviewers and news channels and news anchors coming up to you wanting interviews, and you turned them all down. But when I came to you, you accepted. I just want to know why. And Lee basically said, well, your story is similar to mine. We have redeeming qualities. One of the biggest, shadiest parts in the show was when she said, well, you could relate because well, not relate, but you can kind of understand because you had to kill your son. She's like, well, you had to kill your son to stop him from killing you. And then you just saw Lana's expression just like totally drop, and just like, I didn't kill my son. I killed a murderer, you bitch. I mean, she didn't say all that, but you get what I meant. Like, she's like, I didn't kill my son. I killed a murderer. And then everything got all out of tone. And then we got to the big question. Lana asked, where's Flora? And Lee's like, you tell me where Flora is. I wish I knew where she was. And she's like, what do you mean? And Lana's like, well, Flora has been missing as of 30 minutes before we went on air. And Lee, she's looking all surprised, like, are you serious? Like, she's missing? Now, Lana, she's thinking like, okay, Lee obviously kidnapped her. Yeah, everyone's thinking that Lee kidnapped her. She's like, sit down, Lee, just let us, it's okay, just tell us where she is. And she's like, no, I gotta find Flora. And Lana's like trying to sit her down, whatever. And then you start hearing gunshots. And it's like an assault rifle, and people are just screaming, and people are getting mowed down downstairs. And they're like, what the hell is that? And they're like, it's an assault rifle. And then next thing you know, there's bullet holes coming through the door, and one of the Polk brothers poke. I'm like, oh my God, they're about to kill Lana and Lee. No. And so he's coming in, and he's like, he has an assault rifle. He's ready to mow down Lee. And Lana kind of calmed him down, like, you don't have to do this. You killing, I know what you've been through. I know what kind of emotions are running through you. You killing Lee is not going to bring back your mom, that kind of whole spiel. You getting revenge is going to bring this person back, that whole spiel. And it felt like it was working for a second, but then he just took that gun and went right to the face of Lana, just knocked her clean out. And he was like, she was talking too much. And then she's like, now I get to finally kill you. And he's ready to just unload. And then you just hear, pow, 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 pow. And like guns, like he just starts getting shot, like, pow, pow, pow. No, it's like the police are coming in. They just start shooting him. And then the screen goes like green. It like cuts to like we interrupt this program to bring you Courage the Coward. No, we didn't. It's like, please stand by. That's what it came up. Please stand by. And it's like, beep, that loud beep, and please stand by. Like technical difficulties or whatnot, because, now the people are getting killed on air. Like, this ain't about to air on TV. So they cut to commercial. And I believe after the commercial, we went to the second part, which was another reality TV show. This is one of the reality TV shows. This is more of an amateur reality TV show. We had 3 kids. They probably had no business. They had no business being in this situation. They're like, okay, we're ghost hunters, and we want to go hunt down the truths of American Horror, not American Horror Story. We want to go hunt down the truths of the Roanoke house. And they even showed that, like, like every other news anchor, we have been denied access to go inside this house. And in order to make sure no one goes inside, they have a gates put up with barbed wire surrounded to, barricade anyone from going inside. But he takes out hinges and he just cuts away at the gate. And I'm like, this dude about to die. And they go inside the house, and it's like this guy, another guy, the cameraman, and a girl. And they're going inside, they're looking for ghosts. They come across a few instances of ghost appearances, but nothing really happens. Then they come across Lee, who's in the house. Again, I'm like, Lee, have you not learned from your first two experiences what happened in this house? Like, literally, she was in there the first time, and she survived. Second time, she survived, but she was not really so lucky. I mean, she survived with some blood on her hands and faint in her heart, but she survived the second time. She's now back for a third time. I'm like, Lee just does not learn. I'm sorry. I don't know if I would have ever went back. I mean, maybe that's what a love for your daughter or child does for you. You just go back and put your, well, of course, that's what happens. You put your own body in danger for your young. So we went back to the house, and she's like, she like sees the guys. She's like, "What the hell are you guys doing here?" And they're like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And she's like, "You dumb motherfucker! Like, you guys got to get the hell out of here right now before all of you die." And then I listen to her like, "No, we got to get some of this footage. We got to, like, have you not seen the people who came here not too long ago trying to get footage of this house? You saw what happened to them? They died. And the same thing's gonna happen to you dumbasses, if you don't get the hell out of here." Like, she's like, "You got a few minutes. Get out of here before nightfall, before the blood moon. Otherwise, y'all dead." Like, once that blood moon goes up, you in this house. I'm telling you. And they're not trying to listen. So basically now they're searching around. Well, they're not searching for Flora, but they're basically searching around for more ghost stuff while he's searching around for Florida. And then they start coming across the ghosts. They start coming across the Murd sisters. They came across the Chens, which was the Asian family, like they were straight out of the Grudge movie. They came across what else did they come across? They came across the Pigman. And just like in the TV show, one by one, they started to die. First, it was one of the big guy. He got abducted by the Chens and probably got his head taken off or something. At this point, we really don't know where Lee is. We know where Lee is, but it's like, why haven't they killed Lee yet? And that was a big question I had. It's like, Lee's in his house. They are familiar with Lee. Why haven't they killed Lee yet? So now these guys, they're trying to run out of the house. White girl, she gets her stomach cut open by the butcher as they run out. The police show up, and the guy and the cameraman are running. The police come up to the gates, and they're like, "Go back in your cars! Go back in your cars!" I'm like, he's like, "Go back in your cars right now!" He's like, "There is no time for you to stop." And the police like, "No, what's going on?" And then by the time they turn around, then a bunch of arrows came up from out. I still don't understand why that happens, but a bunch of arrows came from out of the sky and just landed on them. Just impaled all three of them, the policeman, the guy, and the cameraman, and they all died. Safely assuming they're all died. So now it's Lee, and she's still looking for Flora on the what's it called? Yeah, she's looking for Flora, but we're looking it through the vision of the heat cam. Now, the heat cam, I believe if it's orange or red, that's like warm body temperature. If it's blue, that means it's cold body temperature, means you're dead. Now, we saw Lee and Flora, and they were both red, so you thought they were dead, but no, it appeared as they were red and orange, so they were both still living in the house. And then he would cut the commercial. Now, come back for commercial. There are every news anchor and their mama is outside. Police and SWAT teams are surrounding their house because at this point now it's just, we know Flora's there. We know Lee. We think Flora's there. We know Lee's there. There's some dead people outside. This is obviously an abduction and a homicide. And it's like, now they trying to contemplate how they gonna get in the house. There's like every place is like covering this. They go back to Lana Winters. Lana Winters is playing like, oh, she came back there for her daughter, obviously, all this kind of stuff. It's craziness. Then they get back to the house. Lee's in there, and she's talking to Flora. Flora's kind of in her own little world on the ground, drawing a picture of her and Priscilla rummaging through the forest. And Lee's like, we got to go home. And Flora's like, no, I want to stay here with Priscilla. She's like, Priscilla needs me to stay here. She needs a friend. She needs someone with her. And Lee's like, we are getting out of here. And Flora's like, no, I'm staying here. And they were bickering at each other. And Lee basically grabs her. She's like, I am your mother. And I said, you're coming with me. And she just backs away from Lee. She pushes aside. She's like, no, I'm staying here. And basically after that, she basically said that she's going to, in a way, kill herself in order so that way she becomes dead, and that way she could be with Priscilla forever here. And Lee's like, because if you stay here, they're going to kill you, and then you're going to be one of these people. You're going to be killing whoever comes by during the blood moon or whatnot, or you're going to be with Priscilla. It's like, no, I don't want you to be like that. So she's trying to talk, like throwing herself off the ledge. Not Priscilla. She's trying to talk down Flora for throwing herself off the ledge. And Lee says, why don't I stay? And I'm like, huh? And Lee's like, okay, I know you want me to protect Priscilla. You don't want Priscilla to be alone. She's like, Priscilla needs a mommy. Everyone needs a mommy. She's like, why don't I stay and I be like a surrogate mother to Priscilla? She's like, I'll do what you want. I'll do what you want. You originally wanted to do. I'll stay here with Priscilla and I'll keep her company. And you can visit me whenever you want. That it is so help that it is not during the blood moon cycle. You come and visit whenever you want. And then Flora's like, what do you think, Priscilla? And then Priscilla's behind her, and I think Priscilla like nods or whatever. Then we see smoke coming from the road. We see smoke coming from the house. Door, and then an explosion, boom, and then it just explodes down. She's like, what the fuck? Did they all die? Did they all kill themselves? Does it make any sense? So then we see Flora walking out of the doors. I'm like, how is Priscilla? How is she walking out if it was just an explosion? She's walking straight, like nothing said. She's like all zoned out. One of the police officers stops her and puts her in her car, whatnot. And we see a shot of Lee looking at Priscilla, holding her hand, and in Priscilla's hand is a gun. She's pointing at it hard, and she's like, okay, we can be together. And then she shoots Lee, basically killing Lee, so that way Lee could be in the Roanoke house forever. And then the house explodes, basically. And Flora's watching this from the police car. She turns to the right, and she sees Lee. She sees Priscilla and Lee, basically, because now they're both dead. And they're waving at Priscilla, They're waving at Flora, like, bye. We'll see you next time you come here. And basically, Flora rides off into the sunset, and we see the butcher come out to her house because, the butcher keeps on talking about this is her sacred land. How dare you do this? And now she sees her house is burnt down, and you already know shit's about to go down because she's about to go down and kill everybody on her turf. So, but then the scene cuts, and the season has concluded. And that was the season. Now, I must say, this episode I would say was probably the best episode of the season behind episode 6. This was pretty insightful and everything. I must say, did that I really like is that they took what we thought would be a secondary character and made it a main character. What I mean by that is when we first saw Roanoke, we immediately thought, okay, it's going to be about Matt and Shelby because that was the centerfold. The centerfold was about Matt and Shelby moving into this house, surviving in this hellhole of a house, trying to escape. And in the background is Lee portrayed by Monet. You in the background is Lee, and her story's being told. Her story's kind of playing in the background a little bit with Flora. And her and Flora is kind of going on. We understand, we see going on through an episode, but it's not the main focus. The main focus is Shelby and Matt. That's the main focus of the first 5 episodes. So when they escape, it's like, okay, nice. Then we get to episodes 6 through 8, and it's like it's kind of not really about Matt and Shelby anymore. Now it's about everybody. Seeing everyone's getting killed. One episode is like, I'm like, it's Lee, and I'm like, okay, well, Lee isn't that much of a main character. I mean, she was in the first episode, the first few episodes. I don't think she's that much of a main character for her to. And then 9th episode, we find out Lee's the last one who lived out of all of them, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then this whole episode was dedicated to Lee and Flora. I'm like, so basically, this whole season was kind of based around Lee and Flora, and we kind of really didn't even notice until like the end of the season. It all played out, I must say. How it kind of revolved around a mother's love and what a mother will do to protect her child. It shows you how driven parents are about their children. That it does show you. That's one thing I really liked about this season is how they took a secondary storyline, a secondary character, and made it into the end plot. Because had it been about Matt and Shelby the whole time, I don't think anyone really. They made it less about Matt and Shelby and more about the finding between Lee and Flora and Priscilla. And Priscilla, man, she had no dialogue at all. Season, if I'm correct, I don't think Priscilla had. No, Priscilla had some dialogue, but that was in a reenactment. Priscilla, so you would have thought Priscilla was just a background character fooling around with Flora, but she ended up being the main character too in the end because she ended up walking away with Lee, and it's like, wow. So Lee is now kind of the surrogate mother of Priscilla, and now she's kind of, sort of, but not really the mother, still the mother of Flora, who I still have questions about. It like, is Flora technically dead? Because when the house blew up, I believe Flora was still in that house. Now they could have been recording it like kind of late, and Flora already walked out of the house when it blew up, and they just didn't realize it. But as it looked like if the house blew up and then Flora walked out. And Flora was walking like she was zoned out. She didn't say anything to anybody. When she would stop at a police officer, she was looking at him like got into the car, they were waving at her. It's like I felt like there could be some type of theory where I think that Flora, like I think they all killed themselves. Like, yeah, we all know Lee killed herself. But I feel like there's a possibility that Flora's dead too. Like it's kind of a far stretch because and in the heat camera when they met, it was red and orange, which means that they were both alive. But I felt like the way Flora walked out and the way that whole scene played, I feel like Flora is dead. But that can't be the case because the police officer was physically touching her and able to see her, and she was able to leave. So it's like she can't be dead. But it's so weird how the ending kind of played out. Kind of leaves me with a few questions that I may have to answer a little bit later on because that was can't pack everything into this all right now. We got 2 viewers. What's up, guys? Comment down below. What do you guys think about Roanoke Nightmare? This was the whole season. So what do you guys think about Roanoke? Where does it sit with you in terms of the past 5 American Horror Stories? Is it your favorite? Is it your least favorite? Is it in the middle somewhere? For me, I would say this sits either in the middle or my second favorite. Don't get me wrong. I think Hotel is probably the worst season they ever made. In terms of Hotel, this was a big step up. But there were some things I could rant and rave about this season, and there are some things that I just felt like I absolutely loved. They exposed the realities of how reality TV is. They basically did not blur the lines of how far people will go just to get famous. It's like they did a lot of things that usually TV shows don't like want to blur the lines with, and I have to respect American Horror Story for doing that. But other than that, if you ask me, I think this season sits on my top two, maybe my top three, my number three and number two, my top six favorite seasons of American Horror Story. I have to think about it a little bit more, but yeah, that was it. That's it. There was no, this wasn't a mid-season. There's not going to be a continuation next season. I mean, next year. We're probably going to end up having to wait until October of next year for the next season, which is kind of sad to think about it because you got to wait a whole 11 months for a whole another. But we're going to hope that there's going to be some kind of loophole there and we get to get it in February. Likely not, but hey, it's worth a shot. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this. If you guys watched every single review I did of this episode, thank you all so much. I feel so accomplished that I was able to do a review. Maybe not for every single episode. I had to do a quick one for 7 through 9 summed up. But I just felt like I accomplished something by doing reviews for each episode. So I'm kind of happy that I was able to be here and share my opinions with you on this season of my American Horror Story. And I might have to go back and watch some of my opinions on the earlier season compared to right now. But yeah, thank you all for watching this roller coaster ride of a review and this craziness of a show. I love you guys. Make sure you guys stay tuned to this channel. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe, like this video, share it around for Walking Dead reviews, some gameplay videos and whatnot. And once again, I love you guys, and I will talk to you later. Thank you once again, and peace out.